My dad's toxic girlfriend told me, "Why can't you be more like my daughter?" He finally saw her true colors and kicked her out. Now her life is falling apart. Hey Reddit, this story is about my dad's ex, a woman who made living at home pretty rough for me, and her daughter Lily, who ended up being one of the best parts of my life. There's drama, favoritism, yelling, broken stuff, and eventually some much needed karma. So, a little backstory first. My parents split when I was really young. I don't even remember them being happy together, honestly. They just weren't a good match. After they split, I stayed with my dad. My mom wasn't really in the picture much, and it was just me and him for a while. We were doing okay. We weren't rich, but dad worked hard, and I had what I needed. It was a pretty simple setup. School, some video games, hanging out with kids on my street, then dad coming home tired, but always making time for dinner with me. I was probably around 8 when dad started dating again. He'd gone on a few dates before, but nothing serious. Then he met this woman named Karen. At first, she seemed great. She had this really friendly smile, talked a lot, and seemed like the kind of person who could make friends with anyone. She worked from home selling things, some kind of wax products, I didn't really get it, and she had a daughter named Lily who was my age. That part kind of excited me because I was an only child. I thought, cool, someone my age to hang out with. The first time we all met was at this buffet place. I remember it because Dad wanted to make it special. Karen seemed nice, asking me about school and my hobbies. Lily was quiet at first, but once we got some food and started talking about cartoons and random stuff, she opened up. She seemed sweet, and I thought we could get along. I liked her. She wasn't stuck up or anything, and she laughed at my dumb jokes. It felt like maybe this could be good. Things moved fast. Within a few months, Dad and Karen decided to get a house together. That was probably too quick, but at the time I didn't really think about it. I just knew that meant I'd have someone around to play with, and maybe it wouldn't be so quiet at home. The moving day was a blur of boxes and furniture, and suddenly my world wasn't just me and Dad anymore. Now there was Karen and Lily. The first few weeks were all right. There was definitely an adjustment period. The house felt busier. Karen liked to keep things really clean, and she was more hands-on than my dad. She liked schedules and rules. For example, snacks. If Lily wanted something from the pantry, Karen would just get it for her. If I wanted the same thing, she'd say, "Did you finish your homework first?" Or, "Not before dinner." It was small, but it stuck with me. Also about bedtime, we were the same age, but Lily could stay up watching TV or talking to her mom. If I was still up, Karen would come by and say, "Why are you still awake? It's late, go to bed." It didn't cause a big scene, but I definitely noticed it. And Lily noticed too. She'd sometimes roll her eyes at her mom or give me this look like, "Yeah, I know this isn't fair." She was nice to me though, so it never felt like she was part of the problem. It was more like she was stuck in the middle. The thing is, Dad seemed really happy with Karen, so I didn't say anything. I figured maybe I was overthinking it, but it kept happening. Little things where Lily would get the better treatment. Karen would gush about her, saying how smart or cute she was, and then turn around and remind me to work harder, be polite, or stop dragging your feet. Lily got away with talking back sometimes, and it would be brushed off. If I said something slightly sarcastic, it was, "Don't be disrespectful." It wasn't like Karen was mean all the time. She could be nice too. She'd make us dinner, take us out for ice cream, and sometimes even include me in her little mom and daughter stuff, like baking or crafts. But there was always this underlying thing where I could feel the difference. I wasn't treated badly like a stranger, but I wasn't treated like her own kid either. And the times when she got annoyed, it was almost always directed at me. After a few months of living together, things started to feel more normal. I was getting used to sharing space with another kid, and Lily and I were getting along. The first big event that showed me how bad it could get was the vase. We had this old glass vase that belonged to my grandma, nothing super fancy, but it was sentimental to my dad. One afternoon, Dad was at work, and Lily and I were in the living room. She was twirling around showing me some dance she was practicing, and I was just sitting on the couch. Out of nowhere, she spun too wide, bumped into the shelf, and the vase tipped over and shattered on the floor. We both froze. Lily's eyes got huge, and I knew this wasn't going to go over well. Karen came in fast when she heard the crash. She looked at the pieces on the floor and immediately glared at me. "What did you do?" she snapped. Before I could even speak, Lily said, "Mom, it was me. I hit it by accident." She was nervous, but she told the truth. Karen didn't even hesitate. "Number Alex, you were probably messing around, weren't you? Why are you even near that shelf?" I stood up, confused and mad. "I wasn't. I was sitting on the couch the whole time. Lily said she did it." Lily nodded. "Yeah, it was me. I was dancing." Karen just sighed like she didn't believe either of us. Alex, I've told you about respecting other people's things. Go get the broom and clean this up. I couldn't believe it. Lily tried to argue for me. Mom, I'm telling you, it was me. Alex didn't do anything. But Karen waved her off. Enough, Lily. I'm talking to him. He needs to learn to be more careful. I picked up the broom because what else was I supposed to do? It wasn't worth yelling about. Lily kept saying sorry to me the whole time, but Karen ignored it. Later that night, when Dad came home, Karen mentioned the vase casually, saying, Alex knocked over Grandma's vase today. I started to speak up, but Karen cut me off with a look. Lily tried to tell him the truth too, but Dad brushed it off. Accidents happen. It didn't seem like a big deal to him, but to me, it was huge. It was the first time I realized that in this house, even when the truth was obvious, Karen could twist it and no one would call her out. After that, things like this started happening more. If something was out of place, Karen assumed it was me. If Lily forgot to feed the cat, Karen would laugh about how kids get distracted. But if I forgot, it was a lecture. I'd clean the dishes, and if one was still wet or had a spot on it, she'd call me back to redo it. Lily could leave her crafts all over the table and nothing was said. Sometimes Lily would even whisper, I'm sorry about my mom. I know she's not being fair. She wasn't a bad kid at all. She actually tried to defend me a couple of times, but Karen would just shut her down. Don't argue with me, Lily. It was weird because she never got angry at Lily for real. It was more like a gentle stop talking, while with me, it was sharper. One time at dinner, Karen asked Lily about school, praised her drawings, and told her she was so creative. Then she turned to me and asked if I had done my homework, in that tone that meant she was ready to lecture if I said no. I had done it, but it made me feel like she was just waiting for me to mess up. I didn't tell Dad much. He worked long hours and seemed happy finally having someone at home, so I stayed quiet. Lily and I stuck together when Karen wasn't around, playing games or riding bikes, but I was starting to realize something. In this house, Lily could make a mistake and be forgiven instantly, but if I even stood near a mistake, I was the one to blame. And this was only the beginning. By the time I hit around 11 or 12, things were way different in that house. Dad was still working a lot, which meant most days it was just me, Karen, and Lily. At that point, Lily and I were basically siblings. Honestly, if Karen wasn't around, it felt like a pretty good setup. But Karen made sure things weren't calm for long. She had gotten way more comfortable in the stepmom role, which basically meant she treated me like I was some problem kid she had to fix. She nitpicked everything. If I left my shoes by the door, she'd make a big deal about it. If Lily left hers, it was, oh honey, just put them away later. The worst part was how Karen treated me in front of Lily. She would go on and on about how great Lily was. Look how organized Lily is, Alex. Maybe you should take notes. And then turn to me and point out something I did wrong, even if it was tiny. If Lily forgot to feed the pets, Karen would laugh and say, oh, that's so like you. If I forgot, it was, Alex, you're irresponsible. How many times do I have to tell you? One day, I came home from school and there was laundry piled on the couch. Karen was in the kitchen making some kind of scented wax stuff. She didn't even look up when she said, Alex, fold those clothes and put them away. I asked, are these mine? She snapped, it doesn't matter whose they are, just do it. Half the pile was Lily's, but she was upstairs watching TV. I started folding anyway because arguing wasn't worth it. Lily came down halfway through and saw me folding her clothes. She stopped at the bottom of the stairs and said, Mom, why is Alex doing my laundry? I can do it. Karen didn't miss a beat. Because he needs to learn responsibility. Lily walked over, grabbed some shirts, and started helping me. She whispered, sorry, she's just in one of her moods. Lily always seemed to feel bad for me when her mom acted like that. Karen didn't like when Lily defended me. If Lily said anything like, that's not fair, or Alex didn't do it, Karen would shut it down quick. Don't talk back. I know what I'm doing. But she never yelled at Lily the way she did at me. Karen didn't like when Dad gave me attention either. If Dad came home and asked how my day was, she'd find some way to bring up something negative. Well, Alex still hasn't cleaned his room. Or, he forgot to take out the trash. Dad would sigh and tell me to do it. But you could tell he didn't really know what was going on when he wasn't there. At that age, I started to notice how much power she had when he wasn't around. Everything I did felt like it was under a microscope. If I sat on the couch too long, she'd tell me to go do something productive. If I was outside with Lily, she'd come out to make sure we weren't up to something. It was exhausting. By the end of that year, I had already learned to stay quiet around her, do my chores, keep my room clean, and spend time outside or with Lily when I could. Lily was honestly the reason I stayed sane. She wasn't just my stepsister, she was like a friend who understood that things weren't fair. Without her, those days would have been a lot worse. By the time Lily and I were starting high school, the gap between how Karen treated us was impossible to miss. I was used to it by then, but it still stung. Dad was still working long hours, and most of the time, it was just the three of us at home. By then, Lily called my dad Dad too. She was a good kid. She got along with everyone and was popular, but she was never mean about it. If anything, she went out of her way to make sure I didn't feel left out. That's probably why Karen's behavior hit harder. It wasn't just that she treated me differently, it was that Lily could see it too, and sometimes even called her mom out for it. One of the earliest things that started happening freshman year was the morning routine fight. Karen made it her job to wake us up for school. We shared a bathroom upstairs, so it made sense for her to come up once and get us both going. Problem was, she only seemed to really care if Lily was up. There were mornings when she'd wake Lily gently, knocking on her door, saying, "Rise and shine, sweetheart." But for me, she'd yell from downstairs, or barely knock. A couple times I honestly didn't hear her at all. One morning, she stormed into my room, already annoyed. "Why are you still in bed? I woke you up 20 minutes ago." I said, "I didn't hear you." She rolled her eyes. "You always have an excuse." That one scene summed up every morning fight. Later that night, Dad came home, and Karen was waiting to unload. "Your son ignores me in the mornings. I have to practically beg him to get ready. Lily's always ready, but he just lies there." Dad looked at me like I'd been caught doing something wrong. "You need to listen to Karen. She's trying to help you." I tried explaining, but Karen cut me off. "He's not respectful, and I'm tired of it." It kept happening. If she yelled up the stairs and I didn't answer, she called it ignoring her. Even when Lily told her, "Mom, he probably didn't hear you," Karen insisted. "He just doesn't care." Dad started believing it because he wasn't there to see how it really went down. Then there were the chores. Lily's chores were easy. Keep her room clean, feed her cat sometimes, maybe take out the trash if she remembered. Mine, basically everything else. Dishes, vacuuming, wiping counters, laundry, even cleaning up after Karen's two cats. Those weren't even my pets. One Saturday morning stands out. One of the cats had thrown up on the kitchen floor. I walked in and she pointed right at me. "Clean that up." I said, "That's not my cat." She turned on me fast. "Excuse me? You live in this house, you clean it. I shouldn't have to tell you twice." Lily came around the corner, saw what was happening, and said quietly, "Mom, it was my cat's mess." Karen's voice softened instantly. "Oh, honey, don't worry about it." "Alex," I said, "clean it." Lily just looked at me with this half-sorry, half-frustrated face. She hated when her mom did stuff like that, but she knew saying more would just make Karen snap at her too. The texts started around then, and they were brutal. Karen had this thing where she couldn't just ask for something nicely. She had to make it sting. At school, my phone would buzz, and I'd see messages like, "Why is your room always disgusting? I told you to clean it. Do you need glasses? Because you can't seem to do a single chore right." Lily finished all her stuff. "Why are you so lazy?" Sometimes I'd read them during lunch and just shove my phone back in my pocket because they'd ruin my mood. I finally told her once, "Can you stop texting me during school? It's distracting." She acted like I'd insulted her. "Oh, so you don't like me holding you accountable? Maybe if you listened, I wouldn't have to remind you." Lily thought it was ridiculous too. She'd see me staring at my phone and ask, "What did she say now?" It was weird because Lily and I were close, almost like best friends by then. She wasn't fake or spoiled like you'd expect from someone treated as the favorite. She actually went out of her way to make things easier for me. Sometimes she'd even do extra chores so her mom wouldn't nag me later. If she noticed Karen starting to get worked up, she'd try to distract her or change the subject. But nothing really stopped Karen when she was on a roll. She wanted things her way, and when they weren't, it was always my fault. The favoritism was clearer than ever, and the more it happened, the quieter I got around her. By the end of freshman year, I had learned something important. If Karen thought I was the problem, there was no changing her mind. Lily could tell the truth, but it didn't matter. Karen always saw me as the kid doing something wrong. By the time I turned 15, things at home were tense. If anything, it was getting worse. Then something happened that made everything heavier. My grandpa, my dad's dad, got sick. It started with small stuff, tiredness, some tests, and then we found out it was cancer. That news changed the mood in our family. Dad started spending more time at the hospital, visiting his dad whenever he could. For me, seeing my grandpa like that was rough. He'd always been this strong, funny guy who told great stories. Now some days he looked exhausted and could barely get out of bed. Dad tried to keep things steady at home, but it was clear where his mind was. Karen didn't like that. She never said it outright to my face at first, but I could hear the comments. One night after dinner, when she thought I wasn't listening, she told Dad, "You're at that hospital too much. Your kids need you too." Another time, she flat out said, "You should be spending more time here instead of running over there every weekend." Dad stayed calm, but you could tell it bothered him. Meanwhile, the stuff with me didn't slow down. Karen still nitpicked everything I did. Chores were worse than ever. I'd come home from school, and there'd be a list on the counter. Half of it wasn't even my responsibility, but if I missed one thing, she'd complain to Dad. "He doesn't help around the house. I don't know what else to do with him." Lily would roll her eyes and sometimes just help me finish the list so Karen would leave me alone. There were times Lily tried to speak up for me. Once, Karen complained about my room again. "It's disgusting. I can't even look in there." Lily said, "Mom, his room's cleaner than mine right now." Karen snapped, "Lily, don't argue with me." But she never yelled at her the way she yelled at me. It was always a softer tone with Lily, like she was just slightly annoyed. With me, it was like everything was a personal insult. The pressure got worse when Dad wasn't home. One Saturday morning, he was visiting Grandpa, and Karen decided that meant full cleaning day. Lily and I were eating breakfast when Karen came in and started handing out orders. "Lily, tidy your room when you're done. Alex, clean the bathroom, vacuum the living room, and fold the laundry." Lily gave me this sympathetic look and said, "I'll help with the vacuuming." Karen turned on her. "No, you do what I told you. Alex needs to learn responsibility." Lily waited until Karen left the room, then whispered, "I'll sneak and help you later." That's the kind of person she was. She saw how bad it was and did what she could without causing another fight. Things hit a boiling point a few months later. Karen came home one night from some appointment, and she was in a weird mood. Dad was tired and sitting in the living room. Lily and I were watching TV. Karen walked in and asked this question out of nowhere. "Do you guys feel like you can relax when I'm around?" Lily and I looked at each other. Dad raised his eyebrows. Karen pressed again. "I'm serious. Do you feel comfortable when I'm here?" Honestly, I didn't know what to say. Lily, being honest, said quietly, "Sometimes it feels tense." I nodded and said, "Yeah, kind of. That was a mistake." Karen's face went red instantly. "Wow, so I'm the bad guy now?" She snapped. "I do everything for this family and this is how I'm seen?" Then came the tears, followed by yelling. She accused us of disrespect, said we were ungrateful. Dad tried to calm her, but she started raising her voice more. At one point, she grabbed the remote and slammed it on the coffee table so hard and flew into the TV, cracking the screen. The room went dead silent. Lily was pale. Dad just looked stunned. After a few seconds, he told Karen to step outside. She stormed off to the bedroom, still yelling about how nobody appreciated her. That was the night I saw Dad really think about what was happening. He didn't say much, but I could tell something shifted. Lily came over to me and whispered, "Don't say anything. Just keep your head down for now." A few weeks later, things didn't improve. Grandpa's condition got worse. One afternoon, Dad got a call from my grandma. We went to the hospital, and Grandpa passed away later that day. It was in late spring of my sophomore year. That season changed everything at home. It was hard, but being together as a family helped. Except Karen found a way to make it about herself. At the funeral, she was polite at first, then started handing out business cards for her little wax selling thing. She actually told people, "If you need something to make your house smell nice, I can hook you up." Dad didn't say anything right away, but his face was red. Even Lily looked embarrassed. After the service, as people were comforting Dad, one of his old female friends hugged him. Karen didn't like that. Later, at home, she blew up about it. "Who does she think she is hugging you like that?" Dad just got in the car and left for a drive. For me, that period was a turning point. I was tired of being blamed for everything. Lily was tired too. She never stopped being kind to me, but I could see how frustrated she was with her mom. She'd sit with me in the basement and just say, "One day we're getting out of here. Just wait." By the end of that year, I think Dad knew something had to give. He was visiting his mom more, spending more time out of the house. Karen was still snapping, still blaming, still acting like she was the one suffering the most. But now, instead of just feeling annoyed, I could see Dad thinking hard about what kind of life he wanted. Idiwak, by the time I was around 16, things were unbearable. Grandpa had passed, and even though that should have brought us closer, Karen seemed worse than ever. She was picking fights over anything. Dad and I were already tired of the constant tension, and Lily, who was always the calm one, was starting to look worn out. She didn't argue with her mom much, but I could see she hated the way Karen treated me and Dad. It all really blew up near the end of that year. One morning started off like any other. Dad left for work early, and Lily and I were eating breakfast before school. Karen came downstairs, already in a mood. She started complaining about the dishes from last night still being in the sink. I said, "Those aren't even mine," because Lily had made cookies the night before. Lily admitted it. "Yeah, Mom, that was me." Didn't matter. Karen turned to me like she didn't hear a word Lily said. "Alex, I've told you 100 times to keep this kitchen clean. You think I'm your maid?" I didn't fight. I just rinsed the dishes and left for school. That night, Dad came home and Karen started in again. This time, it wasn't just dishes. It was everything. "Your son's disrespectful. He doesn't listen. I do everything and no one appreciates me." Dad told her to calm down. That was all it took for her to blow. She started yelling louder, bringing up old stuff. Lily spoke up. "Mom, that's not true. Half the stuff you're mad about is stuff you pinned on Alex for no reason." Karen turned on Lily. "Oh, so now you're against me too?" Lily stayed calm but firm. "I just want you to stop blaming him for everything. It's not fair." Something snapped in Karen. She slammed her hands on the table and started pacing. Then she started grabbing things. She knocked over a lamp, slammed the remote so hard the batteries flew out, and when Dad tried to stop her, she shoved a chair against the wall. The sound of it hitting made me freeze. Lily looked terrified, but she didn't move from my side. Dad finally stepped in, his voice sharp. "Enough. Stop." Karen wasn't listening. She started yelling about how none of us respected her, how this family was toxic and she was the victim. She threw one of the framed pictures off the shelf. The glass shattered on the floor. Dad's face changed completely. I'd never seen him that serious. "Karen, you need to leave. Right now." She laughed like he was joking. "I'm not going anywhere. This is my house, too." They argued. Dad kept his voice low but firm. "This is done. You can't keep doing this in front of the kids. Get your stuff and leave." Karen shouted, "No! You think you can just push me out? I built this house with you. I stayed here for you." She was crying and yelling at the same time, grabbing more things off the counter like she was trying to prove a point. Lily spoke quietly, but it cut through the noise. "Mom, stop. You're scaring us. Just go." Karen turned to her, stunned. "What did you say?" Lily didn't back down. "I said stop. I'm staying here. I'm not leaving with you." Karen looked like she'd been slapped. "You're my daughter. You come with me." Lily shook her head. "Not if you're going to act like this. I want to stay with Dad and Alex." That was the moment Karen realized she had lost both of us. She stood there for a second, breathing heavy, then grabbed her purse and keys. "Fine. You'll regret this. Both of you." She slammed the door so hard the walls rattled. Dad didn't move for a while. He just cleaned up the glass and broken stuff quietly. Lily sat next to me, quiet but shaking a little. After a while, Dad said, "She's not coming back here. We're done." For the next week, Karen sent messages, some angry, some pleading, but Dad didn't answer most of them. When she showed up once to talk, he told her straight out, "You can't live here anymore. It's over." She argued, but Dad didn't budge. Eventually, she stopped trying. Lily stayed with us. Karen tried to get her to leave a few times, but Lily refused. "I'm not leaving," she told her. "I'm happy here. I'm tired of all the fights." For the first time in years, the house was quiet, and it actually felt like home. After that night, everything changed. It was quiet at home, almost too quiet at first, but in a good way. There wasn't someone watching my every move. No random yelling over nothing. No texts about chores during school. Dad was more relaxed than I'd seen him in years. Lily seemed lighter too. She started spending more time upstairs instead of hiding in her room. The first few weeks were about cleaning up the mess Karen left behind. She took some of her stuff, but a lot of things were broken or half done. Dad spent a couple of weekends fixing things she had damaged during arguments. The lamp, the picture frame, some shelves. Lily and I helped, and honestly, it felt good working together without someone criticizing every little thing. Karen called and texted a lot those first months. It was everything from angry messages, "You ruined this family," to fake sweet ones. "I just want to see Lily." Dad kept it short. "Not right now." Lily never wavered. Every time her mom asked her to visit or move in with her, Lily said no. "I'm staying with Dad and Alex," she told her. That was the truth. After a while, the messages turned more desperate. Karen started complaining about money. She had moved to a small apartment in another city, and apparently thought selling her wax products would pay the bills. It didn't. She sent Dad texts like, "Can you help me out until I get back on my feet?" He didn't answer. By the time Lily and I were finishing high school, Karen's life was starting to look shaky. She'd send emails about boyfriends who left, jobs that didn't work out. Once she even accused Dad of ruining her future because he wouldn't help her with bills. Meanwhile, we were doing fine. Lily was doing great in school, and I was finally able to focus without constant stress. Lily and I stayed close through all of it. She never forgot how her mom treated me, and I never forgot how she always had my back. She was like my built-in best friend. Sometimes she'd joke, "Can you believe how crazy things used to be?" We'd laugh, but there were things we didn't talk about much, like how tense the house had been for years. Karen still tried to make contact every now and then. She'd send long messages to Lily about how she missed her little girl and wanted to rebuild. Lily kept it polite but distant. "I love you, Mom, but I'm happy here." Karen hated that. You could tell by the way her messages would shift from sad to angry. "You'll regret pushing me away," or "Alex turned you against me." But the truth was, Karen was doing it to herself. Every story that came back to us was the same. She'd start dating someone, things would be fine for a few months, then blow up. She'd fight, break things, accuse, and the guy would leave. She moved apartments twice in 2 years. At one point, she even asked one of my aunts if she could sell her food stamps for cash. That's how bad it got. Lily and I graduated, got our own lives, but we stayed close. She's still like my best friend. Dad's happier too, calmer, like a weight was lifted off him. The karma part came slowly, but it came. People stopped taking her seriously. She burned bridges with friends and family. The woman who used to brag about being in control and running the house ended up barely keeping things together. For us, life kept moving forward. Dad finally got a smaller house a few towns over. Lily and I graduated and started our own lives. We'd still visit on weekends, and the house actually felt warm and normal. There was no tension at dinner, no one waiting to point out every mistake. Even now, years later, Karen sometimes sends an email to Dad. It's usually something like, "I miss you," or "Can we talk?" He doesn't bother. Lily once told me her mom reached out after another breakup. The message was full of blame and self-pity. Lily just told her, "You need to work on yourself before blaming everyone else." The last time I heard from Karen personally was about a year ago. She found out I still had an old video of her yelling from when I was younger. She accused me of holding it over her head, said I was ruining her reputation. I told her flat out I didn't care about her reputation and hadn't thought about that video in years. Then I blocked her. Now, when I look back, I mostly think about how lucky I was to have Lily and Dad. It could have been worse. I could have been stuck alone with someone who clearly didn't like me. Instead, I had a sister who stood up for me when she could, and a dad who finally chose peace over chaos. Karen's life might never fix itself, and maybe that's on her. She spent so long blaming everyone else that she never stopped to look in the mirror. For me, those years were rough, but they taught me a lot. I know what unfair looks like. I know what real support looks like too. And honestly, I wouldn't trade that bond I have with Lily for anything. Watching her stand there that night, telling her mom she was staying with us, was one of the best moments of my life. Karen slammed the door and left, but in that moment, I realized something good had come out of all the bad. We're good now. We're happy. And Karen, last I heard, she's still moving around, still chasing something, still blaming. That's not my problem anymore.